Hello, everyone. So, episode 3. I'll be totally honest, I don't really know what I can say about this one because I decided to make episode reviews to, compare and contrast the TV show to the game. This episode so far is the most different from the game, clearly. And I have a strong hunch it's going to be the most different from the game for, the rest of the series as well. Um, but yeah, I'll do my best. Again, I'm not a professional TV critic or movie critic. I just like comparing and contrasting the game to the show. So this one's going to be a little bit tougher, but I'll give it my best shot. So how'd the episode open? It opened with Joel and Ellie on their own after the Capitol, um, and they're going to this abandoned shack where Joel has some stuff stashed, and they're bonding a little bit more. And Ellie goes off to look for stuff, and she comes across this infected that's buried under some rubble. And in hindsight, I'm kind of again wondering what exactly the purpose of that scene was, but I think it was just more for Ellie to just get a closer look at one of these things. I've personally viewed it as her just looking for any kind of humanity left in them. Like, she got a rare opportunity where she could just safely get close to one, look at it, examine it. I think she was just looking for any sign of humanity in it. She even just scraped her knife across the forehead just to see if it could feel anything. And then it seemed like she just got kind of bored, so just but I don't know, I kind of liked it. It was cool. And the makeup and everything with the infected is so far has been very well done. Very well done. And yeah, then after they're walking to Bill's, and I liked their banter. I liked their banter a lot. They ended up going with some Pittsburgh dialogue on their way to Bill's, where they're talking about Joel doesn't want her to see this pile of bodies over there, obviously, but she's like, why'd they kill them? He's like, dead people don't get infected. I remember that from the game. I just didn't remember where. It was after the truck crash in Pittsburgh and they make it back outside. That's where they have that conversation. So it was very attuned to the game, and they were also talking about the airplane crash, which was used for promotions and stuff. I thought that was cool. And then I really like that scene where in the pile of bodies, they zoom in on a cloth or something, and then it cuts to 20 years prior, and it shows the woman wearing the cloth carrying a baby. And then I looked over at my mom. I was like, "Oh, that's sad. That was a really good transition. That's sad." So I like that. And then yeah, then we pretty much spend the entire episode, almost the entire episode, in a Bill and Frank flashback. That's a tongue twister. And yeah, it starts off with I totally bought Nick Offerman's performance as Bill. I thought he did a great job. Um, Now Bill kind of acted like the game Bill for the first 3 years or so. We never got to see what Bill was like when he's around someone besides Joel and Ellie. I don't. It's kind of hard to take a guess as to what that was like, but I feel like this episode probably gave you a glimpse into that, maybe a little bit. Regardless, this episode was definitely intended to be different from the games, clearly. um, but yeah, I liked how it showed he was paranoid about everything even before the outbreak. So he's one of those people that was just kind of prepared for something like that to happen. It's like he had a checklist of things to do if the world went to shit. I doubt he knew it was going to happen. He was just always prepared for it. And yeah, then it happened, and he was ready to go. And he set up all the traps. He got supplies. He grew his own food and everything. That was cool to see. It was almost like an insight into how it into what it was like. Just the fact that he was kind of that person even when the world was normal is kind of a funny reality. Because that's something I never really thought of with the games. What was Bill like 20 years ago? I never really thought of that. And I feel like they did a pretty good job. Just super paranoid about everything. Conspiracy theorists, the whole thing. It was kind of funny. Now, again, I don't really know what I can say about, the Bill and Frank stuff. It was nice. They, what is it? He finds him in a trap. He kind of takes care of him. You could kind of tell in the 3 years, just Bill being by himself was just going day to day. He wasn't really living. He was just surviving. Because there's a difference. I think this game kind of showed that, not this game. This episode kind of got the point across. There's a difference between living and surviving. For the first 3 years of the outbreak, Bill was just surviving, but then he met Frank, and Frank was definitely a little more pushy than Bill, but then, he learned to enjoy life again the next 17 years or so. And there's stuff that happened, I'm not going to go too much into detail with it. It was a very prolonged love romance story. That's what they went with. And I thought it was fine. I will say though, again, with the specifics of it, they build up the town a little bit. You got to see Joel and Tess meeting them, where they became like smuggling partners and whatnot. I'll get stuff for you, you get stuff for me. We'll help each other. I thought that was kind of cool, and it showed how all the traps work. And I like that Joel predicted everything correctly. That raiders will come for you. They'll they'll come at night. I can give you something to reinforce the fence and all that. It's got like a year left or something. I like how he predicted. Joel's very good at like predicting things, except in part 2. Anyway, why'd I say that? God. Yeah, and then the raiders come, and then they're jogging, and then the strawberry scene. I hope one day I'm as happy as those two eating strawberries. And then instead of like getting infected and hanging themselves, Frank, it's implied that he gets AIDS, and then Bill doesn't want to live without him, so they overdose on pills, basically suicide pills. Well, not suicide pills, but it's an overdose of medicine or something, and they go out together. Again, which is clearly like there's very little similar to the game with regards to like a majority of this episode, but some parts were similar. Like the suicide in the game. Frank commits suicide, and in the TV show he technically does as well. Only difference was it was from old age and illness, and in the game it was from infected. In the game, it was more like a tragic love story than anything. In the game it was like they definitely were together, but Frank just, well, it's said in the note, like I was tired of your set in your ways attitude. I wanted more. You couldn't get that. And then, but you were right. Leaving this town will kill me. Better than spending another day with you. Good luck. That was like their final moments in the game. And it's like, that's bleak. That's bleak. Here they get a happy ending. So I will be honest though. As I was watching it, I was kind of wondering, because I could tell what they were doing, but what was the point? Like, okay, you make an episode to focus on their romance, and that's fine. Again, it was beautiful, heartbreaking ending, all that, but romantic, all that fun stuff. What was the point though? Because this is their one episode appearing in the series. They're not gonna be in it anymore. Like, what was the point of showing all of that? And I didn't really get it at first, but then it kind of hit me like as the episode wrapped up with Joel and Ellie. And that is, when Joel and Ellie get to Bill's town, and I think he expected them to be there, but then they weren't. They've been dead for months at this point. They find the note. Again, the similarities between this episode and the game are just the fact that, they go to Bill's to get a car, and, Frank's dead body and a note. Only in this case, Bill is also dead. And let's see, where am I going with this? The note. What was on the note in the TV show again? It was, well, basically what I already talked about. It was like, I didn't like you, but I respected you, and if you're reading this, I'm dead. But I was only living to see another day. I was living for no reason, but then I met Frank, and life was beautiful for a long time, and all that sappy stuff. And basically telling Joel, you got to find you have to do what I did, because I'm sure Bill could tell Joel was just like kind of miserable. But then he, in the note, it's like he mentions you got to protect Tess or keep Tess safe, and that's when it was like, oh, just like another reminder, because Joel's failed a couple times now. He couldn't save his daughter. He couldn't save save Tess. So now he gets a third chance with Ellie, and that was kind of the whole point of the episode. You got to see Bill's origins of just, again, surviving but not living, and then you see him be happy. And then, it didn't tragically end. It ended in a, all life comes to an end at some point, and it ended. In that world, I'm sure you couldn't really dream up of a better situation. But where was I going with this? Yeah, basically telling Joel, you gotta live for something. And since he failed twice, I feel like he gets a third chance with Ellie. And that's what gives him the motivation to see this journey through, getting Ellie to where she needs to go. Because I feel like, when the episode started, I'm sure he was motivated enough by Tess telling her, or her telling him, this is what you need to do. But then it was kind of reinforced with Bill's note. So yeah, I probably could have worded that a little bit better, but yeah, the whole thing was basically to get Joel to take the journey like seriously and just be like, even though Bill intended it for it to mean Tess, it's like, all right, I have to keep you safe. This is what I'm supposed to do. I even like when right before they have the dialogue in the game, the dialogue at the end of the Capitol. It's like, you don't bring up Tess ever. We can keep our histories to ourselves. Second, you do what I say when I say it. Clear? Yeah, repeat it. What you say goes. That was at the end of the episode. So the dialogue that happened at the end of the Capitol now happens at the end of Billstown, which is fine. I thought that was nice. And I like right before he said it, he's like, roll up your sleeve. And he just had to look at the bite one more time to just, I think in that moment he was sad from reading the note, so he just had to like look at it and see. It's like, all right, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. I'm taking care of you no matter what. I'm seeing this through. I will keep you safe. And again, I think that's what Bill wanted for Joel, because he got to experience that firsthand. That's what I got from the episode. Now, in terms of its reception, it's I kind of see it as like if part 2 was a TV episode. Some people loved it, some people hated it. I'm like somewhere in the middle. I thought it was fine, really. Again, I wasn't really sure why they were paying so much attention to Bill and Frank, but then, I realized at the end it's to reinforce Joel's motivation. And then I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense that they did all that. Because we got to see it firsthand from start to finish. And that was, yeah, then I was like, okay, that works for me. But of course, there's a part of me that's also like, the Ellie and Bill banter in the game is some of the best that the game has to offer. So we didn't get that. And that leaves me a little bit disappointed, but that's something I can look past. It seems as though, and I've been thinking about this, it seems as though the show is well, not going out of its way, but it's cutting out all of the gameplay. There was no slums to get to Robert and then killing him. There was no when they go from meeting Marlene to meeting Ellie, there was no running past soldiers. Joel does kill one soldier when they're leaving the QZ. That was kind of like the game, but then like there's no running away from soldiers. It's just running away. And then the museum was accurate. You know, you had when Joel gets separated from Tess and Ellie in the museum, you got to sneak past 3 clickers before you get to the rooftops. And so that was similar. But it seems like they're saving all of the action sequences for later or just cutting them out entirely. And Billstown is very, very evident of that. There was one infected in the entire episode, and that was when Bill was on his own watching through his monitors, setting off one of the traps. So yeah. I liked this episode. I thought it was fine. Little bit awkward to watch with your mother. But overall, I thought it was fine. And yeah, again, I'm not really sure what else to say. Again, I was a little bit confused as to what the point of the episode was besides just telling a love story. But then it finding out it had a purpose in the end that made it work for me anyway. But yeah, I'm probably leaving some stuff out. I like that they at the end of the episode they changed into their official like game attire because that was kind of bugging me a little bit. It's funny in the remake and in the original, you have the option to change their clothes for the game, and I never do because I've played the game for so long that when I'm speedrunning, I don't want to get distracted. And them being in clothes that I don't recognize them in would distract the hell out of me. Uranto does that for his speedruns, and whenever I watch his videos, I'm just like, that's not the clothes that Joel wears. That's not his normal clothes. I can't even notice the strats. So yeah, Ellie's in her black shirt with the red shirt over it, and Joel's in his green rolled up long sleeve shirt. That I'm like, nice. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, that's about all I got. You can discuss it more in the comments. Keep it civil. And yeah, that's about all I got for this one. Yeah. Looks like they'll be getting to Pittsburgh next, which should be fun. I think then we'll see some action. You know, we'll see some action. So yeah, that's about it. See you guys. Bye.